Hey, real quick before we start this video, this upcoming Tuesday on June 10th, we have our first OP11 tournament. It's an online webcam event, 128 player cap, 6 boxes of OP11, and should be a good time. So make sure to check it out if you haven't already. Link in the description for the signups, and enjoy the video. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we're finally here at the release of a Fist of Divine Speed, the 11th set for the English version of the One Piece card game, and we also have the added bonus of the new star decks, which are coming out exclusively first for the English version of the One Piece card game. So we not only have a new format, but we also have a day one format, since we do have a couple of cards that just don't exist right now in the Japanese meta. So I think that's very cool. I also think that means that this tier list is going to be pretty volatile and more opinionated than usual, and I think that's fun. But I also want to just kind of preload this with saying that this is not a cemented tier list in any way. This is more opinionated based on my own thoughts, but also kind of based off some Japanese deck lists that did well as well. So I do have a lot of decks that did well in the Japanese OP11 format, which is mildly different than ours. They had the restriction list for only about half of it. Also, they had Star Deck 22, which we don't have, and then we also have Star Deck 23 to 28, which they do not even have right now. They're not getting it to the end of the month. So the card pool is a little bit different, so that does change the meta in general. It's a good kind of, I think, first steps into what the meta looks like, but nothing like absolute, and I do think we're going to have a different meta than them because of that. So again, these are going to be my opinions. If you want to check out the deck list that I have, you can find them on Eggman Events, which I'll also continue to update throughout this format, so you guys can see some decks that are doing well in the English version as well. So lastly, if you guys want to see any gameplay, I've been doing a lot of live streaming here on my YouTube, and I will be doing a live stream as of this video coming out in the couple hours afterwards. So make sure to check it out, and I've been really enjoying testing the new stuff that we have as well. So hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's just jump on into it. So our tiers for today are unlikely. These are decks that I think are unlikely to do well in this format, and specifically speaking, we have a lot of leaders on this video, but we don't have every leader in the game, and no doubt I have some people who don't have their leader represented today. I would say if I don't have that, it's not saying that they can't be good. They're just not catching my eye, or I'm not seeing any evidence that they're going to be very strong in this format in general. So with that in mind, if there's any that I missed, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts for it. And if I didn't, mention them, I'd love to be proven wrong and see some either results or some deck lists that you guys believe in, and to see if they is maybe something I did miss for that as well. But unlikely is there. Experimental is generally a deck that got some kind of support in either the set OP11 or more than likely star deck, the new star decks that we got. So I can only do so much testing, and with all these cards just kind of coming out really close to the release of this set, I haven't been doing I haven't really been able to do as much testing as I want. So with that in mind, these are just kind of decks that I have kind of caught my eye. They can be good, they can be bad, but I think they're worth investigating one way or the other. Likely good are decks that are likely good. It means that they should top some events for this. I'd be mildly surprised if they win an event, but not completely. And they won't top every event in my mind, but they will top a good amount of them. So I do think that's there. Good decks are decks that I think will top most events in this format in general, and would be unlikely or would be mildly likely to win one of these events too. They're just decks I think are very solid and pretty good picks overall. And then we've got Gum Gum tier, which we're just going to start off real quick. If your name is Luffy, or at least if you have the purple color and the straw hat tag, you're just kind of in a really good spot right now. So unsurprisingly, I know the blue and purple Luffy did really well in the majority of the Japanese meta. Towards the end, it kind of faded a little bit, but it was kind of hard, in my opinion, to tell if it was just people not using it as much, or if people were finding more consistent ways to counter it. Regardless, I think worst case, this deck is tier 1. It's very popular right now. I know a lot of people are testing with it, and it is kind of unique on the consistency and the way that it plays out cards, so I think that's very strong. Green Purple Luffy was kind of the de facto list that was the best leader in the game at the end of our OP10 EBO2 meta, and I don't think that it's really going anywhere anytime soon. The purple and black Luffy is the new Luffy kind of on the block. Obviously, it came out in OP09, but with the new star deck, it did get a good amount of support, which I think is really strong. And just just our general purple Luffy, I think it really appreciates the new 8-drop Katakuri that we got out of OP11, and it's still in a really good spot. So I think all these decks are very good. Purple Luffy might be hitting up a little bit more, but generally speaking, I think this is maybe in a purple Luffy meta where all of these are just really strong. Basically just because of how good purple Straw Hat support is right now. So that also means we've got Nico Robin as well as red purple Luffy, both leaders that are purple and Straw Hat, so they can, use Gum Gum Giant and other kind of good cards for the archetypes. These are ones that I think are still good no matter what. I haven't really found a reason to play these outside, over the leaders that we have above us, but the fact that we have some additional color combinations, if you guys want to make that work, I think is exciting. So you guys can check that out. And these could definitely raise up to a tier like Gum Gum tier, but generally speaking, I haven't been seeing these ones as much as these other purple Luffys, so we're gonna have that there. So just again, preface, I think again you will play a lot against a lot of players who are playing a leader that is purple and has the Straw Hat Crew tag, and I think that's going to be pretty obvious. So generally speaking, Gum Gum tier doesn't mean tier 0. I want to just kind of preface that too. I think they're good decks. This is kind of just to show that purple Straw Hats are just really good right now. So other than that, we've got 5 additional new leaders into this set. We're going to go with Kobe. We're going to put this in experimental. Navy's always had like so many good support cards, and like the tag has been very good for the deck. The kind of new red Navy stuff I think is really great too, which Smoker can also take advantage of. I'm going to put Smoker also in experimental. Even though Smoker didn't really get anything inherently out of the new star decks, I do think that it can be good with some of the new Navy support as well, like the Peacock 1-drop as well, being able to give that plus 1000, which could really come up in kind of a mid to late game scenario. And I think Smoker's in an okay spot, and Kobe as well. So it does, they are a little bit clunky at times. They are really, dependent on seeing the right cards at the right time. But if they are able to do that, they're in a good spot, and we're going to leave that there. We have Nami, which has been one of my favorite decks to test in the OP11 format. This might be a tier 2 high. It might be in the likely good, but I think honestly, Nami is in a good deck, and I honestly would be a little bit more confident in this if we did have the Star Deck 22. The Odin that we get from that Star Deck works really well in Nami specifically, and even with the new starter deck, we do have the 1-drop Yamato, which could find the 8-drop Odin, so there is some potential to have kind of like a Land of Wano build for the deck. I've been doing a lot of theory crafting, and it just is a bit of a bummer that this wouldn't really come to fruition until September for us, when I think we already have OP12 out as well. So I think Nami still is in a good spot. It did pretty well in Japan. It was kind of dependent on using the new Odin, but I want to put it here. It might need to go down a little bit, but again, it's my favorite deck, so I'm going to bump it up a little bit. We also have Jinbei and the Shirahoshi. I'm going to put these on in unlikely. These never really did anything in Japan in particular. I don't want to be like really like, I don't want to prevent people from trying these decks out or even doing some innovation with them, but generally speaking, they also didn't really get any support from the star decks either, and they do some really neat things, but I don't think they're really neat. I don't think they're very strong in the current format that we find ourselves in. So hopefully I'm wrong. I always love being wrong about this. I also ended up pulling the Jinbei alt art leader, so I would love to find a reason to sleeve that up. So if you have a deck or a build that you believe in, I'd love to see it. And then Katakuri, we're going to put Katakuri in the likely good. I think the deck is fine. It is a little bit clunky at times, but there is some really cool interactions with how like the leader effects works, how you can get some Dawn. Obviously, 8-drop Katakuri has been a very strong card for purple in general, so the leader that's able to play it and also play it for 2 Dawn in some situations by using the 2-drop Katakuri is really, really strong. So I think this leader is fine. I think there's, it's outclassed a little bit by other purple leaders that exist in this format, but you really can take advantage of some of its effects, and I do kind of like it, so we're going to put that there. So other than that, we're going to kind of just go by color. This is kind of how I have it organized based off kind of the first color, but it's going to be a little bit willy and nilly, and we're going to start off with kind of like more of like the red aggressive decks. So I think the best one in general is the Balo Betty, which specifically is good in this format because it's really good at specifically beating this blue and purple Luffy and some other Luffys along the way as well. The aggression that it has is great. If you're playing against a deck that just doesn't really, is setting up for its Dawn plays early game and doesn't really have ways to remove cards, Betty will set up on you so quickly, and even if you are like a 6k base leader, it will make you a 5k leader with Karasu, and it's going to be tough because you're also kind of facing down 8k attacks based on how the deck works. So Betty is kind of like in this weird position where it's really good because the other decks that you likely will see are very good. It has a lot of polarizing matchups, I think, outside of it, but Betty's going to be in a good spot. So because of that, I do think like decks like Zoro and Newgate are also potentially good. We've been seeing obviously more Newgate here in North America compared to honestly the rest of the world, but being a 6k leader and being able to attack into 6k leaders is really nice. There is a chance that there's a lot of decks that can become 7k leaders, and because of that, maybe that Newgate will get like kind of outclassed a little bit because of that, but I think it's still really good, and that red aggressive decks like Zoro and Newgate will still find a bit of a niche in this format in general and still do pretty well. So there it is. We also have Shanks, which honestly speaking, I'm going to put it in experimental, which might be a little bit low for some people, but I don't think Shanks is really good. I felt like it really fell off at the end of EBO2, mostly because of its matchup into green purple Luffy, and now there's just more Luffys for Shanks to kind of lose against right now. So the new Shanks is nice. The fact though that it's only like on play you get the plus 2k is pretty tough compared to the 6-drop purple Luffy for the purple and black Luffy, where you get to be a 7k leader for pretty much the majority of the game. Shanks not being able to recur that very easily means that you play it once, cool, sure, but then nothing really happens otherwise. So unless you start playing like also 9-drop Newgates in tandem with it, which could happen, right? This is in the experimental tier. You could also be a 7k leader for most of the game, but you're really dependent on your on plays. It's dependent on you spending 9 Dawn every turn to do so, and that might be a little bit expensive to kind of maintain throughout a game. So I don't really know. I think that there could be some builds for Shanks. I think that Shanks' star deck was probably the weakest of the 6, at least when it comes to like exploring new deck ideas. And but don't let me stop you from brewing your own builds. I'm just not very confident to Shanks, and I would love to be proven wrong. We also do have a couple other red decks. We have like Marco and Uta. A lot of people say that Uta got more support than Shanks did in the star deck, and I've tried a little bit of Uta, but the fact that you have to discard a card to ramp with it, and you don't like you don't really get the full effect of this card very often. And sure, you get to kind of ramp to a bigger body, but like when these decks like at least the blue purple Luffy and the black and purple Luffy kind of already do that already and can be aggressive with it, it makes it tougher to beat Uta, especially when you don't have your Gum Gum Giant as like an ace in the hole in the mid to late game. So I think Uta is just in a kind of okay spot. Marco we might bump up at the end of the day, but I think that it's one of my favorite decks right now. Obviously if we had like the new starter deck support that you could maybe use with Marco, you could be in a good spot. I think it's going to be okay, but it's not something that I think is going to be defining this meta, but we could be, again, very wrong with that. We also do have Law, which I think Law is going to be in a pretty good spot. With the new just green supernova stuff, you can really take advantage of it. I don't know how well you can, and to be honest, we also have the yellow and green Law, which also just benefits from this green supernova support. I'm going to put that in likely good, just while we're kind of in this Law discussion, but I think that, the 2-drop Kitten Killer is great, just another searcher for the archetype. When you want to be able to bounce cards back and be able to have like a 2 cost for the cost is good. I think also that like for yellow and green Law, you could use the Room card as like a 1 cost. Since you could use the Kitten Killer, you could pop it to be able to get that 1 done defensively pretty easily, and I think that helps out the deck a lot too. So generally speaking, I think Laws, both of these are in a better spot because of these star decks. I'd love to see what these kind of finalized builds kind of look like, and I think they're in a good spot. So there we go. And then we also have Bonnie, which I think Bonnie's in a still great spot. I think 2-drop Kitten Killer is way better than people are giving it credit for based on my own kind of surface level testing. The fact that you can just pop, I mean, if they don't answer that card, it means that you have like an emergency 1 Dawn open whenever you really need to, right? Like your opponent can play around it. There's some counterplay, but the fact that you get to 1, like you're already playing Bonnie 1-drop for 2 Dawn to be able to get a search. Sure, it's only 1 search, but to be able to like have this 2-drop that's active on the board, that again, if your opponent doesn't answer it, then you just get to, you can pay 10 for Dofi or something and then have that 1 Dawn open afterwards by popping it. So I think that's very good. I think that's something that Bonnie really appreciates. The 10-drop you get from the set, I know people are testing out, but the support in general, I think for Bonnie is pretty okay. I don't think it's like amazing. I don't think it's changing the game outright, but Bonnie's really popular right now. I think you have some great ways to interact with some of these purple Luffy decks. You do have to find an answer to the 8-drop Katakuri, which I do think that the new law and Beppo could help you with that too, so that could be an answer for it. But it's not in a bad spot, and I do have some struggles with Bonnie still in this meta, so there it is. We also kind of to finish out green, we do have Lim, which I think Lim is going to be unlikely. I could be wrong with this, and I hope I am wrong with it, but it just feels like this deck doesn't do as much. You do get to put out a lot of 6k bodies, which could be really good against Luffy and Monkey D. Luffy, but I do think I don't know, I'm the king of like underestimating Lim, so I can just continue that. You know what? Whatever. We're gonna put in likely good. Whatever. Prove me right. Prove me wrong. We're gonna move it up there. Sure. Lim could maybe be there. I just don't know. I just didn't see it do well in Japan, right? I always get so nervous, right? How many limbs did we have in Japan's format in OP09, right? Let me see. I don't think we had any. I didn't find any personally with all my testing. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it's putting it up too high. Oh, we'll put an experimental. We'll cut the middle for it. So there it is. And while we're in the experimental, we'll put carrot there. I think the deck is still good. We did get like some weird support from the set. The fact that we actually have a boss monster in the set that's not 5 cost carrot is really cool. We also got a lot of support from the EBO2 with the 2k carrot that helps you find Zoe. So having that extra Dawn every turn is very easy for this deck all of a sudden, which means that you can be 6k offensively and still play on curve, which is super nice. So I think that's something that this carrot can really be beneficial for. The fact that also you have ways to interact with your opponent's board if they're setting up is really good. And I'd be really curious to see how carrot does in the near future. So generally speaking, I think green and yellow got a lot of support from the star decks compared to just as a color in general, right? A lot of generic support. And I think carrot can definitely take advantage of it too. So we also have Yamato, which I think is going to be one of the better star decks that we got from this one. The 1-drop Yamato is great. Like pretty much every card in that star deck is just good. I would consider playing it, and I think has a lot of benefits for the deck too. So 1-drop Yamato in particular, I think is really good. I also think that the 6-drop Momo is really, really good at being able to apply pressure, specifically. And the fact that like the Dawn ×2 or the Dawn you get to attach with Yamato just kind of felt like this kind of extra effect most of the time, and now I really feel that we have cards to take advantage of this unique ability, and that feels really great. I feel like the design for the Yamato deck was really superb, and it's been really cool to see how we can kind of build the deck and take advantage of not only like the fact that our leader is a double attack, but also the fact that we have these 2 extra kind of floating Dawn to use every turn. So really love to see that, and I think Yamato's in a pretty good spot moving forward. And I think like if someone is able to really crack the code with the deck, I think it can be really aggressive. But I also think that there could be like a chance for like the Fortress, 8-drop kid build to really see the light of day, which we haven't really seen before at like a wider level. So we're gonna put that there. Going to blue, we've got Buggy, and I think Buggy is pretty good. I think that most people have been saying, you know what? The support it got was superb. They said we want Buggy to be in this meta, and gosh darn it, they said, sure, let's do it. We'll give it a bunch of new 7-drops. We'll give it protection. We'll give them card draw, and it's a pretty scary deck, right? It's very, I would say previously it was really unlikely for you to be able to actually use the 10-drop Buggy, and now I feel like my opponent gets to do it every game, right? They still have to like see the card and still have to do the setup for it, and the deck can be kind of fragile, especially since it's a 5 life leader. It feels extra fragile, but if you get it off right, like this deck can be great in a lot of situations. So because of that, I think Buggy's in a good spot. I'd be curious to see like what the actual kind of build ends up being. I think Buggy compared to a lot of other leaders is going to be like a 48 out of 50 ratio kind of deck, and when that works out, Buggy's going to be in a really good spot. So here's where I think Buggy is. I think it's in the good decks kind of territory. We also do have Don Quixote do Flamingo. I'm going to actually put this in unlikely. It wasn't really doing much in Japan, and then we got cards that are banned, and then we just have like decks that kind of do the same thing. So Dofi had like a really good run for the last 6 months, and I could be wrong. Maybe they'll find another build of Dofi to really take advantage of this new format, but I think it's likely the pause for this one in this current format, and we'll kind of see if that's right or wrong, but we'll leave that there. Next up, you've got Usopp. I think Usopp's kind of I really don't know how to put this on this tier list. I don't know. We'll put it maybe in like the likely good, I suppose. This deck I think was pretty consistently underrated in the OP10 format. It got a lot of tops. I know a lot of people were saying the deck was bad, but it ended up doing very well. I haven't done a lot of testing into the purple Luffy with it, so that's going to be tough to see how good the deck is for that. I think like playing Kyros on curve gets a lot of value though against blue purple Luffy specifically, especially since like you can have some ways to kind of protect your cards by having that increased cost. And yeah, Kyros on curve does so much for the deck too. So we'll see if it's right or wrong. I really don't know how to kind of judge Usopp with it. I think the other issue is that it's blue and black, which means the blue and black star decks were specifically Buggy and Teach, which pretty much all those cards said if your leader is Buggy or if your leader is Teach, respectfully, which just means that, respectively, so which means that Usopp doesn't get any of those new cards. He's got the same card pool in OP11 as Japan did, so it's kind of hard to gauge. But maybe if it ends up doing well into some of the better decks that end up settling into this format, I think Usopp could have a foothold, but until then, we'll put it just in the likely good. We also have Reiju, which I think I was surprised a little bit by how relevant this leader was by the end of OP10 and 11. We do get pretty much a whole new package of support. We're going to put in the likely good, kind of above experimental. I haven't seen a lot of builds for it, and I know that it didn't do super well in Japan either. It wasn't like very present either, despite it getting like a dozen new cards. But I do think that Reiju has a lot of like try hard play, like forever players with this deck. They've been playing the deck for a long time, and because of that, they will find a way to kind of crack the code for it again with these new cards. So we're going to leave that there. We've got Pudding, which I'm going to put Pudding in the experimental. I tried playing Pudding in Katakuri. I think Pudding was a little bit worse compared to the two, but it could just be my build. The fact that we have a lot more purple Big Mom Pirates cards is really good. We can really take advantage of a lot of them, and obviously still ramping to 10 drop Big Mom is still a good idea. So we'll see if Pudding ends up being super relevant, but being able to use these new Big Mom Pirate cards I think is very good. Nami, we're just going to put in the likely good. Nami's never going to be terrible as a leader. Again, kind of the same thing. If you just have a lot of like diehard fans for it, and because of it, it just means that Nami's going to be present one way or the other. Rob Lucci, I'm going to put in like experimental, but I haven't really seen it doing like super well. I think that there could just be like some of these like medium aggressive decks that have a hard time like really getting removed by like what Rob Lucci wants to do. Also, the fact that we have all these like 6K and 7K leaders where Rob Lucci generally likes to play on curve. It's very difficult for you to find time to put Dawn on your leader in the mid to kind of early game, and because of that, you get a lot of advantage as like some of these bigger decks. So I do think like 4-drop Kuzan is a great way to answer a lot of these, but like 9-drop Linlin could put it back into your life, and I'm just not really sure if Rob Lucci's going to really cut it for it. But he's been able to live through more, right? The fact that it's been able to still be present despite it losing Ennis Lobby, being losing Ice Age, losing 8-drop Moria, right? It's never going to be the worst deck for black in general, but I just don't know what it kind of looked like in this next format. So there it is. We got a couple more decks. We've got Teach, which I think Teach is going to be good in one way. It's going to be at the end of the good decks in my mind, but it is going to be a deck that I think is present. It did get some tops in Japan still, and we do have some new cards, which is great. I think the biggest issue with this deck is that it's a terrible day one deck, and the fact that you really need to know every matchup going into a format to do well, to specifically know if and when you should discard a card off your leader effect, but also the fact that your techs in the deck are very specific on what you think you're going to play against, and you really don't know what you're going to be playing against, so that makes it a little bit tougher. So I think Teach is going to have a bit of a slow start, but probably this time next month we'll kind of know what Teach builds kind of look like, and I think we'll probably see if there's a way for it to combat the meta. We'll know in the next couple weeks and not something immediately. So we're going to put in the good decks, though. I have faith that the deck is still going to be good and obnoxious, and there it is. We got Star Deck 14 Luffy, which was my favorite deck to play at the end of the OP10 format, and we do have a way to make it like more of the Navy kind of package with it. So the 1-drop Searcher event as well as the 8-drop Garp are both great cards for this deck. I've been doing a good amount of testing with it myself. I do think like the fact that a lot of decks are playing really big bodies is kind of tough, but also the fact that we increase the cost of our own cards means that we get around some kind of removal options that your opponent would be playing otherwise. So I think there's a chance for it. I haven't done like kind of a lot of wide scale testing with it, but I love the deck and I hope it is somewhat viable in this next one. So lastly, we've got the Kid and also the Enel. I think both of these are kind of in the likely good spot. Maybe Enel could be like at the end of the good decks. It kind of got some tops in Japan, but kind of off the back of like Kingdom Come, which we don't have in the meta anymore. So I guess we'll put them both in likely good. I do think like the burn damage that the 8-drop Kid and kind of the other yellow supernovas has been really good. I've been playing a build with Nami, which has been fantastic from my own testing. And I think that Kid can also do the same kind of thing. The fact that we also just get to get our card back active at the end of the turn, whether or not we want to use the blocker ability, is great for the deck. Just means that we have so many ways to attack and then restand. They have to attack into you instead of having to bully your board, and that also means the blocker that they have to answer is pretty large and kind of difficult to answer in the same way. So I think that there could be some unexplored territory for 8-drop Kid. We don't really have a lot of support from the yellow Yamato deck that we could consider playing. Like we could maybe play like the Momo if just for a rush card if we really want to, but I think that could be good in its own way. So we'll see if we are able to do anything with it, but I think Kid is the deck that because of its the interaction with what Nami has been able to do with the supernova stuff, I think that Kid can also take advantage of it, so specifically against some of these kind of lower life decks that exist. So anyways, here is my current tier list. Again, this is very speculative. If you've skipped to this part of the video, which I know that you did because I will look at YouTube analytics, this is not a finalized tier list for this meta. This is my thoughts. These are what I'm thinking for it. I'm probably missing your favorite deck. It means that it's not catching my eye, but you can prove me wrong, and I'd love to be kind of shown that too. So anything else, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this meta in general, what you're looking forward to, what you're not looking forward to, and that will be it for me. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.